I have a guest on today who has written a book called The Narrative of Primus, a lineage woven into American history. This is about the remarkable life of a man whose lineage spans from slavery, generations all the way down, and it figures into the Connecticut National Guard. This book will be coming out in April. My guest is John Mills, genealogist and an independent scholar. John, so nice to see you again.
Thank you so much for having me. I truly appreciate it.
So you've written this book.
Yes.
And I'm going to shut up right away because you have a lot of information to tell me in 4.5 or 5 minutes. Tell me how you first found Primus.
Well, the long journey of genealogical and historical research that actually started with a man enslaved in Middletown. And so I started with this individual, and in tracing that individual, it led me to someone who fought in the Civil War, a man named Daniel Stanley Lathrop. He's etched into the 29th Connecticut Colored Regiment Monument at Crisquello Park. And in seeing that image, I started chasing Daniel Stanley Lathrop, which led me back in time to his second great-grandfather, whose name was Primus.
All right, and that's why I'm not talking. All right, who was Primus?
Primus was a man that was enslaved in Africa, in the Gambia. And as a child, in the early 1700s, he was captured and placed aboard a slave ship with his father. His father died on the journey. He arrived in New York, and then they brought him to Connecticut, and he was enslaved in Norwich to a man by the name of Ebenezer Lathrop. And he spent most of his life there enslaved until his enslaver passed away. And right around 1774, he was freed, and he lived in a home that was given to him that was right next to a schoolhouse, the East District Schoolhouse in Norwich. And that school, a famous writer from here in Connecticut went to that school, Lydia Sigourney. And as a child, he would tell her stories of his capture. And she published his narrative in a book she put out in 1824. And that narrative has been lost for some time. And I'm republishing it in my book, along with the entire journey that took me towards him.
And that took you to 12 chapters, right?
12 chapters of the journey to get to him, then his narrative in chapter 6, and then kind of interrogating that narrative and what was said and what we learned from it, the remaining chapters.
And what do we learn from it?
Oh, we learn a lot. We learn about the time that he lived in. We learn about his interpretation of his enslavement and his capture and how he was treated in America. What he gathered from his enslavers, what he learned, how he presented in the world, and also how the community he lived in saw him and how he was treated, and what education was like of that time, how the community saw education for African Americans. I mean, you learn a lot in kind of translating the narrative and Lydia Sigourney's interpretations of who he was.
You do so much with genealogy for folks and trace their roots and all of that. Why is it so important to remember the past in the future?
Well, for me, my sister helped me learn a lot of this stuff about my own family and learning about my alignment to enslavement, and it was incredibly powerful. Like, you would think some of the stories would be sad, but they weren't. They made my shoulders, lift. And knowing that I was so ingrained in this soil to people that had to persist and survive through hard times and horrible treatment in some instances, I saw them as giants. So it not only grounded me in this nation, but it gave me this level of reverence and pride for people I didn't know about previously. So this becomes incredibly important to me for not just other African Americans or other folks of our communities, but of little kids that were like me coming up and didn't see themselves really aligned. Then they learn about their own lineages, and it's powerful. I know many of the folks today that are related to Primus. A lot of them live here in New Haven. And so sharing what I found, them sharing what they knew, has been powerful for them as well. So,
John, you are always powerful. I can't wait till this book comes out and to leaf through it and to learn about history.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you so much for being here.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
You betcha. And if you'd like to know more on the narrative of Primus, a lineage woven into American history, go to WTNH.com or the News 8 app.